Hello, everyone. My name is Athenia Rodney. I'm the CEO and founder of Emoja Events and the co-creator of the Juneteenth New York City event. I want to welcome you guys all here today as we have some special treats for you. I want to first start off by please asking for forgiveness and grace. As I know, we said that we were going to start at 5 and we had to delay, but we will talk about why we had to delay. It was for an amazing reason. Trust me, nothing happens by happen chance. And everything that has been going on in this time and in this season is for a particular reason. So we will have no further ado and we will get started. Just talk a little bit about who we are with Juneteenth. Juneteenth NY has been circulating in the Brooklyn area for the last 11 years. This year, we had to go online, as most events did, and we were the first of many to start our online programming. We had a great and amazing time, and because of that, we continued to engage our members here on our pages so that we can, one, keep the Black movement alive, and two, keep the understanding of what Juneteenth is, which is about educating, empowering, and not just entertainment, but educational entertainment to our community. So every month we hold what's called microlabs, where we bring people from our community to talk to us about things that are occurring in our community that are changing the ways that we live, changing our ideas, and changing how we should think moving forward. 2020 has been a year of insight, has been a year of clarity, and we hope that it's been a year of insight and clarity for you as well. So before I get started, I am going to show you guys a clip to kind of bring into what we will be talking here today. Today, we are talking about our Second Amendment rights, the right to bear arms, right? There's so many conversations, so many questions. It was even something for myself that I had to really, I had to come to grips with. And these ladies definitely have helped me to be in a better space of understanding about it, even with my husband who, has talked about wanting to get a gun. So I am going to start off with this video first, and then we'll jump right into everything else.
In a very violent.
Let me start from the beginning.
I grew up really anti-gun.
I grew up in a pretty liberal California family. I wasn't into firearms. I was kind of opposed to them.
My parents were never really into firearms.
I actually really don't like guns.
But I 100% for certain will be buying a gun or 2 or 3.
Owning a firearm is important to me.
When you look outside, you can kind of see that there's a need for people protecting themselves, buying firearms, being conscious.
Black people, we live in a very violent country, and this country doesn't give us good options.
Parked my bike over here to take a break real quick. Got a white guy out here pointing the gun at 4 black men. Look at this. All we doing is standing here.
This lady literally just pulled a gun because we out here and didn't have reservations.
Guns are dangerous. I never wanted one in my home. But a month ago, I bought a handgun and I learned how to shoot it. Right now, I need a gun to be safe in this country. We see heavily armed folks showing up at the capitals across the nation and demanding that their constitutional rights were being violated. And then we had the back-to-back murders of Black folks. We are not safe.
3 years ago, I was driving with my children. We were pulled over to a stop by a police officer, and the police officer brandished a gun on me with my children crying in the back. That was a turning point for me, understanding that the people that are supposed to take care of us and keep us safe may not always be there for us.
Black America has never been safe, but we have always fought back. Black abolitionists like Harriet Tubman carried weapons to protect themselves from slave catchers and police. And during the civil rights movement, even activists like Martin Luther King owned guns to protect themselves.
We have a cultural, historical, connection to firearms too.
Most of the gun stores and gun ranges are owned by white people.
My first experience going to a gun range, I walked out in tears because I was so uncomfortable. All eyes were on us, and people were letting us know that they didn't want us there.
Unfortunately, we have no choice to own firearms. Right now is a very key time to get you a firearm, get you some training.
We're not going to live with stigmas. We're not going to live with fear, period.
My experience buying a gun is something unique. This was actually a buildup that got me here. I've been fighting for gun regulation in my state for 8 years. Regardless of who was in office, our lives didn't get any better for Black and brown communities. In fact, they just stayed the same. That's when the realization hit. Until we have legislation and all the wrong people don't have guns, you need a gun.
When I try to get a firearm for my house, my wife was very adverse.
Opposed. Really going out to the range, really learning about firearms is what kind of got me understanding that it's not so much scary, it's more a tool and it's more protection.
All Black people, pretty much, we need guns to protect ourselves.
Go buy a gun, arm yourself.
And just make sure you get some training.
I think that's the mentality that every African American should have, given the history and the current climate.
My personal goal for gun ownership is never to hurt anyone. But if in fact my life is threatened, my family is threatened, I probably wouldn't hesitate.
Wow. Wow. When I saw that video, all I could say was wow. And I hope you felt the same way, because it definitely was how I felt when it came to my feelings and my beliefs and thoughts and stuff around it. So before I'm going to bring on our co-host, our lead for today, Miss Pippi from Miss Spuds. Hello.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Miss Spuds? Everything potatoes and no gravy. You know, I always got to do my head shake with it.
You got to do the head shake. I am doing wonderful. We picked up the truck on Friday, so I'm super excited about that.
Awesome.
And actually considering acquiring a gun for the business because I'm a female owner, African American female owner of a business, and so we're looking at that as an option. So, something we should think about. But I'm happy to be here and looking forward to the discussion tonight.
Definitely. And we don't want you all to forget, Juneteenth this year will be a summit. We will have a weekend long of activities from June the 18th, which is a Friday, to June the 20th, which is Sunday. Please visit our website at juneteenthy.com. And I am going to pass it over to you, Ms. Pippi, as I bring on our guests.
Yeah. As I said, I am a firm advocate for gun ownership and gun safety, given a lot of what's going on in our community and in society as a whole. We're seeing that there are white supremacy groups and militias that are growing in the United States, all across America, where we just don't know on any given day. We see the videos every day where someone's brandishing a gun at an individual for doing absolutely nothing, for parking wrong, for coming out of the mall, or, something really silly as far as I'm concerned. And, we have to question, like, what are we going to do to protect ourselves? What can we do? And one of the things we can do is equalize the situation by being gun owners and practicing gun safety more than anything. I'm not sure how is it that, I think I understand it, how it's become so imbalanced where You have an entire group of people, race of people who are very comfortable with guns. Well, I guess that's America, right? You know, this is how they have ruled for centuries, is with weapons. You know, with weaponry. So for them to have guns, it's almost like second nature for them. But for us, we are usually the victims of it. And I think now is the time for us to become empowered. I think now is the time for us to get educated and get comfortable with the thought that the best way to protect ourselves at this point, African Americans specifically, at this point, is to become gun owners, to be smart and aware, educated, and owners of firearms, you know, and get familiar with the laws, get familiar with your local laws, get familiar with and have conversation with your leaders, your representatives, on how the laws apply to you specifically. Because even at the same time, we have situations like James Blake and I forget the other gentleman's name who was shot and killed by police officers. And these were people who were licensed gun owners, you know, protecting themselves, protecting their families, and they were still shot and killed, you know, by police officers. And if I'm correct, there is something in that amendment where you should be able to arm yourself, protect yourself, even from police officers. So it's incumbent on us to learn these laws, to learn the Constitution for our betterment, So we welcome you all into the conversation tonight. Like Athenia said, we do a monthly conversation leading up to our Juneteenth summit in June of 2021. Every month there's a different topic. They're fun. Some of them are serious. Some of them are, you know, are very mild, and some are exciting. I think to me, this one is very important, especially for the climate that we're in. Next month, I think we're talking about, I have to look at the calendar, but I think we're talking about religion and African spirituality. The following month in January, I think we have the Black Rockettes, like these girls who were pioneers. We're talking about Black investment, you know, investing in the stock market, how it applies to you, how to work it so you will benefit from it. So we want you guys to tune in every month. Look out for the links, look out for the newsletters. Check us out on Facebook, like us on Facebook, like us on IG, and follow us, and come out in June. God willing, all will be well. COVID will have disappeared, like miraculously. It will disappear, and we will be able to celebrate our ancestors, our freedom, and celebrate in June with a wonderful celebration. So tonight, one of our guests we have from Brooklyn WATE, a young lady that I went on an extravaganza of at the gun range, a shooting range last month, which was much needed. It kind of, you know, helped me scratch that itch about wanting to hold a gun, get out there and shoot and see what it feels like again, and get reacclimated with it. Malene Brissett from Brooklyn WATE, she has a nonprofit organization that does events on a monthly. They try to do events on a monthly basis, taking women out to the gun range to get familiar and out in the elements, not in an indoor gun race, something where you can shoot long, you can shoot short, you know, you can really get a feel for what it feels like to be able to let off on a firearm in a safe space. And it was really fun. So I just wanted to say good evening to you, Malene Brissett, one of our invitees, our speakers tonight. She will be discussing the safety, you know, everything you need to know about firearms. She's here to answer any questions you all may have. So
good evening.
Hi, Malene.
Good evening. It's Malene, but it's okay because we got to learn each other's names, so that's fine. Malene Brissett from Brooklyn WATE, and a little bit about me is that I started a nonprofit where it was more important to me about bringing women together in skill building, right? So we had events where we honored women, but then it turned and it started to evolve into making sure that women are informed in different skills. And so as of 2018, because of COVID, we started to think about how to reimagine fellowship between women a lot differently. And it started from our Black Women Shoot event. And like Pippi said, we did it outdoor in July, August, and September. And now we are actually indoor because of the seasonal changes and how we had to use that outdoor space. So that outdoor space is now being used for another event, bow and arrows, but we were there learning about firearm safety. And I think it is a very important life skill. And the reason I say it's a life skill is because not knowing the skill is how we kill ourselves when we don't know skills that can save our families, that can save our communities. I think firearm education for women, especially Black women who are backbones of families, who have to experience and over generations have had to sometimes fill in the place when our men were taken out of the homes, whether it was by force or whether they were murdered or killed. You know, we needed to step in place and be there to be the support. And so with this firearm education and safety that we promote and that we advocate for Black and brown women, we want them to understand that they can learn this skill. Even if they don't want to purchase a firearm, it is important that you have the skill, right? It's if you don't have a car, but you get your driver's license, if anything happens, you have the skill to take your loved one to a hospital. So it's a skill that is needed. It's a skill that I'm always going to advocate for. It's a skill that me and my husband want our children to have, because at the end of the day, we on a whole, as a people, we're not prepared to deal with what is out there currently. Other people, other folk have been preparing their children from 9 years old, 8 years old. I've seen some as young as 7 years old that have firearm education and fire safety. So I'm really passionate about making sure Black and brown women especially get firearm education and training. I'm not sure. I hope I'm not frozen again.
No, we can hear you. Hope, are you there? Okay, you can you unmute yourself?
Sure, yes, I'm here. Hi, ladies.
There we go. Hey.
I hope.
Excuse us, girl. We have a technical difficulty, so we gonna work it out.
Oh my God.
We're trying.
I lost sound and everything. Oh my goodness. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. There you
Perfect.
go.
Perfect. I apologize.
Got it. Go ahead, Hope. I know. So Hope and Sheba are in the same car, so that's why will see them, I guess, interchange in between. But Hope, you want to talk a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your organization?
Sure. So I'm Hope Hughes. I am the co-director of Hughes Institute for Security Training, which is a family-based business that my father founded. Mm-hmm. We've been around for about 19 years.
Sheba has to turn her volume down because we're getting the feedback from her.
Okay. Is this better, ladies?
Yep. Perfect.
And one of the specialties, one of the services that we provide is gun licensing and training. So that's what we do. We've been doing that. We not only train and certify security guards, those who are interested in armed security or just having an armed license, we assist them with that process. So pretty much what we do is we fill out the application with them. We go over all the details of it, pre-screen them for their mental competence, and pretty much try to dig deep on why they want to fit a firearm. After doing so, then we assist them with submitting the 17-page application, which is fun. We submit that to the police department, who then has to basically process the last steps. Once they do that, they will call the person in to let them know that they have an interview. once they get interviewed by an investigator, they're assigned an investigator. The investigator will go through their entire background to figure out, if they're mentally competent, emotionally competent, just overall. Like, they want to know that whoever's going to be obtaining this fire weapon is going to use it responsibly. So then after you are investigated, what's going to happen is the investigator will approve you. Once they approve you, then you would come back to our school. Then my dad would then take that person to register for what's called the 47-hour firearm training. That's additional training to make sure that you have knowledge about the firearm. And then we assist with the whole education and the training of actually using the firearm, which includes ammo knowledge, loading a gun, the responsibility of a gun, and just actually getting comfortable with shooting. So, which is very important because, with using an armed weapon, that's a large part of it is mental. So you need to be able to use it properly because, hey, firearms can harm people. So you need to make sure that they're handled properly and safely. After all of that is done, we pick out a handgun if you need further assistance, and that's pretty much the whole process. And that's pretty much what we do from there. If you're an armed security guard, then we place you. But that's the whole complete process. Now, I will tell you, it sounds real easy the way I'm saying it, on our panel discussion. But I always tell my clients that we will marry well for a long time because this is not a process that's going to take a month. This is definitely just that, a process. So we will spend a series of a lot of time together, just we're going over the application process, working with the police department, and just the overall knowledge and training of the guard. So I would say tops, look at the minimum about 90 days that you will be going through this process. So I would say 3 to 6 months before you're actually going to be certified.
All right, that's not bad at all. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you know what I mean? It's something like that that is so important and such a huge responsibility for one to have. 3 months isn't a long time. It's
Thank
not a
you.
long time. I mean, 3 months, it would take somebody that's not familiar with guns to for it to really settle. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm going to be a
Yes.
gun owner. I have to think about protecting my home, my family, my children. How am I going to secure it? How am I going to store it? You understand what I'm saying? It takes about that much time to make sure you're creating a safe space for yourself and your family. Access in an emergency if you ever needed it. You know what I mean? You want to think about these things. It's a serious deal. It's a serious deal. Something that we really have to really be thoughtful about when we're considering owning a gun. So thank you, Hope, for that. Letting us know who you are and what you're doing. Sheba. Yes.
I'm sorry.
No,
before we move on, one thing that you did mention that I forgot to add, which is important. You do have to have a safeguard person.
Right.
Somebody's going to safeguard the weapon. So thank you for reminding me of that, Pippin. You have to have somebody in the event that something happens to you. That person has to get that paperwork notarized and say that they will secure that weapon in the event that something happens to you, and you have to have it safe.
Awesome. Thank you. So we also have one of our other panelists, Sheba Simpson. Good evening. Your lipstick is popping. Unmute yourself, honey.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and tell us about this magnificent event that you ladies are coming from that kind of took a lot of your time, but for a really, really good reason.
Thank you. My name is Sheba Simpson. I'm a candidate for City Council for District 9 in Harlem, and I'm also a teacher for the NYCDOE for the last over 22 years. And today was our second excursion out to the gun range to get over 20 women trained, and they also shot guns of 9mm, 20mm. 9mm, 22s, and rifles. And it was a great event. Everyone was willing to learn. Everyone was very conscientious about learning the accurate way to load a gun and a rifle and to shoot, as well as to just engage with one another in a positive way, because we know that gun ownership right now in this country is something that we all should be very conscious about, but gun ownership with responsibility and knowledge.
Yeah, from what we understand now, gun sales have increased to almost 60%.
Yes.
Almost 60% up until today, you know.
Yep.
So, and a lot of that is African American women.
Several Black men saw us today and were very proud to see us there. Gave us a word of encouragement.
Awesome.
And also one gentleman took our names, Hopes in my name, to give to his wife, and then to also encourage her and her friends to join our group. So we're going to be starting a Facebook group where more people around the world, and especially in New York City and the 5 boroughs, will join us. We may have to do numerous events instead of once a month, because today was kind of overwhelmed the gun range, you know, because it was 18 of us, but we had over 20 people say that they were going to show, and 18 of us were here today. So this is why we're literally in our car, because we just wanted to make sure that everyone enjoyed themselves, and some wanted to fellowship afterwards and, you know, talk about their experience. And it was really, for me, I can't speak for anyone else, but it was really for me, it gave me joy, because, you know, our Second Amendment right to bear arms has not always been encouraged in this country, because, you know, those in power don't want to empower those they oppress.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you hear me? I seem to have lost video. I had a call coming in. You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So excuse me about that. I apologize. Yeah, but again, these are phenomenal acknowledgments, you know, especially with what's going on in the climate today.
Yes.
You know. So my question to you ladies, as while you were at the range, what was it like for the women? Were they apprehensive? Were they slightly intimidated? Were they anxious or really interested, looking forward to knowing more? You know, what can we say to people who may be intimidated, who may be apprehensive, but want to learn, but are curious? What would each of you say to these women?
For me, I think that if you are apprehensive, it is critically important that you speak to someone about the dynamics of learning to shoot a gun or a rifle. Mm-hmm. Because once you have that knowledge, and you are someone is standing there with you that first time, and they are teaching you how to load accurately, teaching you how to shoot accurately, and your stance, you become more confident each time you step up to the booth and you shoot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For me, for me, I think that what I did was I demystified the tool, right? It's a tool nonetheless. And I read. So sometimes when you have anxiety about doing something, the best way to kill the anxiety is to read about it, right? So if you want to know about certain firearms, read about the pistol, read about how it's made, read about how heavy it is, read about it so that you can acclimate and wrap your brain around what you're going to be engaged with. And then, as Sheba said, I would ask a friend to go with me. And if you don't have a friend to go with you, find organizations like ours that are going to take you out there and give you some practice and allow yourself to be in a safe space where you can get the firearm education that's needed. You can talk to other people so that you can lean on them, so you can gain support. I think there is nothing wrong with asking for help. I also don't think that there's anything wrong with even releasing that emotion at the event, because it may be too heavy of a task for you at that time. But what I don't want to see women especially do is to turn away and not engage it because of the fear or some kind of fear that hasn't been demystified. So I would talk to a young lady or an older woman, doesn't matter the age, and just ask them to read about what they don't know and then engage it head on by going with someone or finding a group of women that can support them in learning about the firearm, the safety around it, and how to use it appropriately.
Okay. Hope, what about you? What would you tell someone who's never handled a firearm before about what it feels like? What would you recommend to them if they were intimidated, slightly intimidated, or apprehensive about pursuing something like this?
Well, for me, I would definitely say they need to come in and they would need, before they actually enter in the actual shooting portion of the gun range, they need to go to the informational session. So that was the big thing for us. We sat down, we went to the training room, we learned, we had live weapons. We were able to get comfortable with them. So it takes away some of that anxiety. But once you step in the actual shooting range, what I noticed with some of the ladies, you saw some ladies that were apprehensive. They were like standing behind, the other, they didn't want to really go up and shoot. So for me, once they saw us walking up, being confident, still asking for help where we need it, because some of us are not completely well versed in it. So us shooting, and we encourage them. Like what we would do is we would say, well, hey, now you're next up. We're right here. It's a trainer right here to help you do this. You got this. So just the support. But somebody would, I would say, just do it. Just as a young lady, Malene said, you got to just do it. Get that the training session in first, because it kind of eases the mental part of it all. Mm-hmm. Because now you feel confident, like, oh, I know what not to do. Mm-hmm. So once you step in the actual shooting range, like, okay, I have a little snapshot of what I shouldn't do or what I shouldn't do. Now I just got to go for it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Those are great answers. Those are great answers, and something that we should definitely consider, because I truly enjoy going to the range. I think it's great practice to help ease any butterflies anybody may have, because again, we're so used to the gun. We're so used to being victims of the gun. You know what I'm saying? We're not used to being empowered by it. You know what I mean? Being able to wrap our hands around it and really feel the power that you may have, and have a level of respectability for it. You know what I mean? So I can understand women's apprehension, their nervousness about handling a gun. But once you get educated, once you get the information, once you shoot that firearm and feel the power of it, it kind of fosters a new responsibility, a level of responsibility that you need to have for something that you can possibly harm someone very seriously or take their life. So it's a real serious conversation. It's a serious responsibility that one has if they decide to be an owner, but it's also ownership of self. I choose to protect myself. I choose to protect my family. I choose to protect my property, and we should feel emboldened. We should feel empowered to do that. As women, majority of the women that I know are single mothers. Not that they're going through any incredibly abusive situation where they need a gun, but at the same time, why not? It will force you to make other responsible decisions in your life, I believe. So moving on, I have another question for you with regard to the Second Amendment. So this is a question that one of our viewers had, and it says, can African Americans reasonably expect to be covered by the Second Amendment in a country still marbled by racist rhetoric, attitudes, and facts?
No. That's my answer. No. No. The system isn't designed for us to win, right? So that's why we have to always stay informed, right? What's the saying? Stay ready so you don't have to get ready, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think that we are going to be covered unless by the grace of God that the system has definitely changed. That's, our focus should even be trying to work with that. Our focus should be staying informed, making sure that we play by the rules, because we have played by the rules and we still end up dead, right? So we need to continue playing by the rules, but we still need to be informed and we still need to get the training. Apply for our permits, apply for our licensure. It doesn't guarantee that we're going to be protected by the Second Amendment, but it guarantees that we are going to be accountable for our choices and our reactions to things that are out of our control.
Correct. What about you, Hope? What do you think about that question? You have to unmute yourself, hon.
Sorry about that. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry. It's a little noisy where we are.
Sure. So the question the viewer had is, can African Americans reasonably expect to be covered by the Second Amendment in a country still marbled by racist rhetoric, attitudes, and facts?
Well, I'm going to say no as well. Only because, well, yes and no. I mean, there's still going to be, we're still going to be treated unfairly. The amendment is still going to be twisted and turned when it comes to us, in my opinion. However, with getting properly trained and getting licensed, it will cover us so that we won't end up in unpleasant situations. So in that aspect, I feel like if it's more of a covering for us. Will I feel like will it stop the rhetoric and the racism? No, I don't.
Okay. I agree. Unfortunately, I mean, we have too many instances where we've already have had people who were licensed carriers, and use their firearms to protect themselves and still ended up on the wrong side, getting sentenced and the amendment, the Second Amendment just did not protect them in those aspects. So, like you said, I think it's important for us to, once we get licensed, we are well informed about the responsibility that we are accountable for our actions, our behavior, being a gun owner, and also understand the law, because the law is about interpretation as well. If you commit, I don't want to say a crime, but if you protect yourself, in what respect did you feel the need to protect yourself? You know what I'm saying? How do you apply the law to ensure that it protects you? So these are things that we have to consider when being gun owners. It's not just about the gun, but it's also about the law. So I just want to get back to something when we were talking to, if Hope can answer this question, because this applies to policing, private policing. I'm an advocate for defunding the police. I personally don't believe we need them to, not in the capacity that we have them, right? We need them to protect and serve and, all those things that it says on the side of their car, right? We need them to do that. That's the one thing we certainly aren't getting, right? But in defunding the police, I believe that we should be able to have other professionals or other people, our own policing, to answer the call when we have conflicts in our communities, to help resolve and help de-escalate situations and be able to protect our own communities. For example, Starrett City, I believe Co-op City as well, they have private police, and that's a great example of what is possible in our communities. I don't think people even realize that something like that is possible. So we're not even having those conversations with our representatives, which I believe we should. You know, if we're serious about taking on that responsibility, if we're going to take it away from the police, I think it's something we should consider. So speak to us about private policing.
Okay, well, for me, private policing, growing up in the urban community, what people don't know is like back in the days, they used to have a housing police. So like you talk about private police, like in Starrick City and Co-op City, actually like in the housing projects, believe it or not, they had housing police. So it was like the community's own policing. So I believe in it because they know the community. I think that they could diffuse a lot of issues that occur without escalating to something fatal. So I am in agreement with private policing, because I do think that it could tame or quell some of the issues that are not so serious that become serious when the NYPD gets involved. So yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's something that's very possible. I think they should implement it again because I remember it happening growing up in the city. And those housing police, especially in the housing projects, it did help a lot because people were used to seeing them. They felt like those police were a part of the community. So they were more likely to cooperate, or there wasn't as much conflict or pushback or misunderstandings between the civilians and the police department. So I do think that we should bring that not only in the private developments, but also bring it back into the housing projects as well.
I agree. I actually had that same conversation with Athenia earlier. Down to bringing it back into the projects. I mean, where it's most needed. So this is what I want to do, ladies. So we're going to do a quick round table at 6:42, and we have quite a few questions on our Facebook pages. So I'm going to pose the question. Either of you can answer. Okay. So we have Deneen Beauty and You on Facebook ask, is having the right to bear arms enough of a reason to want a permit for a license? She said, real talk.
Love you too.
Okay, so I'll start. I think that shouldn't be your only reason to wanting a permit or a license. I think before wanting a permit and a license, you should want the education and the skill to want to have a permit or a license, right? So I believe that if you understand how to use the gun and that you are confident and comfortable in using a gun or choosing how the people around you are going to be okay living with you having a gun, then I think the next discussion you need to have with your family is, you know what, I think it's time for a permit or a license. But just based on we have the right to bear arms, I don't think that is a reason. I think the reason should come from you wanting the skill and then wanting the permit and then the license.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. We have a question from Venus Sutton. Venus asks, is the training only for women? So that would apply. That question will go to you both, Malene and I'm sorry, honey. I have a question coming in. I'm sorry. License protect. Okay, she put the question up there. Okay, either of you can answer that question.
Okay, I see that the person put, does the license protect you off the job?
Yes.
Or I'm not off your job. I'm not quite. So you mean, so like if you are
maybe if you're
like a licensed,
let's say if you're a police officer or a corrections officer.
Oh,
let's say that. She wasn't clear,
yes.
But I'm going to assume that's what she's talking about.
Well, because for police officers and corrections officers, you know, they can there's really no limit to like to and from home and being in the community. They can have their guns. So technically they shouldn't be using it off duty. When they're off duty, they shouldn't be using their firearm, but they are protected.
Okay, good answer. Good answer. We have another question. How do you feel about children being taught fire safety, firearm safety, gun safety?
No, you can go. I'm sorry. Well, like today at the range, every time we've come, we see families, we see children there. They are teaching their children how to shoot. They're making it a family event. Today we saw a lot of ethnic families who are doing the same thing. So I say yes. Why not?
I say yes also. My girlfriend's daughters, they were just holding, I think one had a shotgun and one had a rifle.
Oh, wow.
So I think it's excellent. And then my sons are going to be going in the next 2 weeks. I think they start teaching their kids from even the earliest as 7 years old. I think, that's another reason why I was telling Pippi in our last event that we as people who are advocates for firearm education safety, we need to also demystify it for the youth, right? Because they're walking around with these illegal guns. And if they would see what a natural gun looks like, the proper way to hold it, they wouldn't be doing what they see in Mission Impossible, understanding that it doesn't work like that. It doesn't operate like that. It has a lot of force. It's a lot heavier than what you're seeing on TV. It is not TV. So I believe that when we take that type of novelty out of this machine that people are using illegally in our communities, we can tame the youth on how they use it and make them accountable for understanding the information that's being given to them. And that's why funding these communities and even doing census, right? We get our funding so that we can open up these programs in communities so that they can learn. It would be wonderful if I saw more Black boys and Black girls in the firearm ranges so that they can learn how to properly hold these tools and use them correctly.
I agree with both ladies. Whenever I think of Black people, I think of us being 400 years behind in everything, right? And so gun ownership, gun training, licensing, all of that goes along with it. Because as a native New Yorker, until I had a long conversation with Hope, I didn't believe that I could own a gun in New York because it was always said that you had to be someone in law enforcement, someone in politics, or someone who was a large a very well-known celebrity. And then, to my surprise, I was told by Hope that, yes, not only can you own a license, you can be licensed in 37 other states. And so I'm in agreement. We definitely need to have families licensed because sometimes we've seen our children be the heroes in certain situations that have occurred in our homes, in our cars. And so knowledge is power. And so when you have knowledge about something, I also believe that you have respect for what you're learning about when you're giving that opportunity. So I believe that, yes, children as far as 5 years old should begin to learn how firearm safety works. Why is it important? And it's also part of, again, the Second Amendment that may not always or has not really applied to us because, going back to the Dred Scott decision, when they said that the laws were not made for us, right? We know that in America there is 2 sets of laws, one pertaining to Blacks and one pertaining to white Americans. And so we're just saying now we've had enough of being behind, and now it's our time to protect ourselves and our families, and part of our families are our children.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for those comprehensive answers. I really appreciate that. We have another question from Robert Brissett. What is the youngest age, to piggyback off of this question, the first question, what is the youngest age to introduce guns to children, and what is your recommended way to do that? Either of you can answer. What is the youngest age to introduce guns to children, and what is your recommended way to do that?
I guess I need to answer that. That's my husband that wrote that question. So
why did I realize the last name?
you didn't look at the last name, right? So a couple different things, right? So what you're looking at is 5 years of growth and 5 years of evolution. Because 5 years ago, it was, I'm never getting a gun. Don't ask me about getting a gun. We have kids. I don't want them in the house. No. People are dying from guns every day. I don't want that. And Robert has always been saying, I think the boys should learn. I think the boys should learn. And now 5 years later, I'm in a position where I'm going and I'm taking women out, and then we're going into these spaces and we're seeing girls that are like 9, 8, 7. I haven't seen a 6-year-old, and some of the range that we went to said that 7 is their minimum. But I can, even if you look on YouTube videos and you Google how young is the youngest child doing firearm education, you will see a slew of young children at 5 and 6 years old doing it. The other part of his question was, how young do I think they should start? I think the conversation should start as soon as they start playing with toy guns, right? And that could be 3, 4, 5. Again, demystifying that, guns that are plastic, are green and bright colors, those are made in the image of real tools that are used to actually hurt and kill people. So I think the conversation starts within your home, with your children, at the table, in response to a question that they may ask. I think there's no real age that you shouldn't start. I think you should start it as early as your child understands that guns exist.
Awesome. I agree. When it's time for them, when they start playing with certain toys and they have a clear understanding, because for some reason kids understand about the toy guns. They understand about the pow pow. You know what I mean? And how it relates to, protection or harm. So it may be a good time to have those conversations. We have a question, I guess a question of clarity from Deneen Beauty and You. Her original question was, is having the right to bear arms enough of a reason to want a permit for a license? Then I guess we needed to, go a little further. She said, to piggyback to my previous question, I meant from the standpoint of approval of the city, state, or whoever approves the process for licensure. In other words, other than identifying mental instability, what else may have a person be denied? Hope, what have you seen?
Okay, so to answer the first part of the question, no, the right to bear arms is not. That's not enough just to want to have a weapon. No, I don't agree with that at all. Secondly, some of the things that will get you denied is, unfortunately, having a felony. You will not get approved if you have any order of protections active or in the past. If it's any history of violence, and what I've seen is that when I tell people you need to be as truthful as possible, it's not about me. The police department is going to investigate you. Okay, so they're going to be in your business in every aspect of it. So if you didn't report something that happened, when you were 16 and it was sealed, it doesn't matter. You still have to put it down. So people have to understand, but it doesn't matter anymore. Yes, it does. So just know, if you've gotten into any domestic disputes, order protections, felonies, any history of violence, whether it was before you were legal or not, you will not get approved. I can 100% guarantee you will not get approved in New York State.
Wow. Okay. So we have another question from Goku Black. My partner is against guns. Do you have any questions as to how to introduce the topic of gun ownership? This is interesting. This is a couple, 2 adults that live in a home, may or may not have children there. One is for guns, one is against guns. What say you, Malene?
I knew you were coming to me. because this was us, right? You're talking about us. You know, so his tactics are different than anybody else's, right? He just little by little, just poop, drop the hint. I'm getting a license. I'm getting a license. So that may not work on everybody. I think that a serious conversation between partners should be, you know, what is it about having a gun that, you know, what makes you want to have a gun, right? If it's because you feel like somebody has always been pressing up on you and I don't like her around the house or I don't like him around the house, that's not a good reason. If you feel like the area you live in is hostile, maybe the discussion should be around, do we need to be in this area? Can we move ourselves out of this area? Like, I think gun ownership should really be about, why do we want it? Are we doing it because we're reacting to the environment, or are we doing it because we want a skill? Are we doing it because we feel like people around us have guns and we're the only one on the block that don't have guns? I think the conversation shouldn't really start with gun ownership, but it should start with activity and conversation, right? So the conversation should start with, this is why I've noticed that people are more guns are being purchased this year than any other year in the last 5 years. And I feel like we should have a gun too. Something is going to happen. I feel it in my spirit. And the response could be like, well, before we start talking about guns, can we at least go for training? Or can I see what the fascination is? And like I said, read some history books, read some books, read, you know, what it entails. You know, talk to people, go on Google, you know, look up different African American agencies that are hosting these type of firearm education classes. If you never get into the topic of the education behind gun ownership and guns itself, and maybe our prior aversions to it, like 50 said, we were always the victims of gun violence, and now we can be empowered having guns and being the person who's accountable for shooting guns. I think the conversation should start there. You need to do activity together and practice, and then maybe it will turn, you know. But I think that couples have to decide together. And again, you're looking at 5 years evolved. This was not me 5 years ago. I was a different person. So I think his strategy worked. And now I think I'm a little bit more excited and about people learning gun safety.
Thank you. Thank you for that answer. And I think you're doing a great job coming into your own about this, about gun safety and gun ownership. So we are pretty much out of time. We have a couple of minutes left. And before we go, just wanted to see if, I guess within 30 seconds, if you ladies would like to impart to our guests anything that you want to leave, any tidbits that you want to leave behind. Please let us know what you're doing in your organizations, in your businesses, how people can register, contact you for more information. And of course, you, Sheba, let us know what you're doing. How can we contact you and support you? So let us know. Malene?
I'll go first. Oh, go ahead, Sheba. Go ahead. Go.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
So we're out of time. We only have about 3 more minutes left. So within 30 seconds, if you want to leave any tidbits about, you can't hear me?
I can't hear you, sister.
Okay, all right, Egypt, sorry. All right. So we only have we have about another minute left. Let us know what you're doing. How we can
I can't hear the question.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to Malene, and we can leave your information on our website. So Malene, give us some information about Brooklyn WATE and let us know what's going on within the next couple of months. And it's the same thing for you, Hope.
Okay, so Brooklyn WATE is currently, we just had our Black Women Shoot event yesterday. We had 16 women with us. We went out and we had some fellowshipping over gun education and firearm practice. Coming up November 15th, we'll have our next one for November. You can go to www.brooklynwate.org for more information on that. Next week starts our Black Women Read, where we are doing the book Think. And in November,
it's 19 hours.
Excuse me. In December, we'll be doing dads and sons shooting events and moms and daughters shooting events. This way we can get a family event going in before the end of the year. But you just need to go to www.brooklynwate.org, RSVP for any event that you see is interesting, and you'll get all that information in your email following.
And can men attend? I'm back. Can men attend these events, Malene?
So the event that we have for December will be the father and sons event. So yes, that will be a male event, because I've gotten so much hate text that I'm leaving the sons out, and I have sons. So we're gonna have them there. The father and sons event, and then we'll have the mother and children event where mothers with sons and daughters can attend that, and that will be our December event.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Hope, any closing remarks? Anything you want to leave with our guests?
Yes. So right now, people can follow up with inquiries at Captain Larry Hughes 1262 at Gmail, because our website is going under maintenance right now, or they can directly call me at 646-244-9230. And up and coming next week, we will be having a virtual informational session on Sunday around 7 p.m. for just more education about licensing, gun training, and all of that stuff in our next range events, which I collaborate with Sheba and Dr. Jackie with the Leadership Academy. So that's what's up and coming for us. Our next informational session, which is next Sunday at 7 p.m. And then we have another range trip that's going to happen around November 15th.
Awesome. And lastly, Sheba Simpson, let us know what you're doing. Let us know where we can contact you and how we can support you.
So again, my name is Sheba Simpson, and I am a candidate for City Council for District 9 in Harlem. My website is shebaforcitycouncil.com. You can go there and see everything that I've done in the past. We post what is coming up, as well as my donation button. And as always, I'm always in the community, enlightening, empowering, educating, not only the youth, but the families of my students. And more than anything, I'm just a regular person who just said that, you know what, I'm tired of those people we keep electing not doing what they said that they're going to do for our community. And so I'm here just as a vessel to amplify the voices of our community.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. This was a wonderful, robust discussion that I'm glad we had the opportunity to share with our viewers, and we can move forward with this. And I think it's a wonderful topic, and I think that something that we could carry on, and hopefully we get some responses and we can really build this up, right? So I just want to say thank you guys for taking the time out to support us. So everyone that is out there listening, look out for us next month, November 21st, I believe. We have Sheba Simpson, who is an institutional asset management sales professional, who will be discussing African-American empowerment, finance, and tools to build your wealth. Okay, so tune into that next month, November 21st. Sheba Simpson will be speaking on our panel. So we thank you all for joining us tonight, and we will see you again. See y'all at the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
ladies.
night, everybody.
Good night.
We appreciate everyone.